you hear me?
Good morning. I had to unmute. It's not the little red button, it's another button.
Yeah, and it does, sometimes it disappears altogether until you move your cursor.
Right. It's funny, I've been doing these Zoom and Google Meets for 3 months now, and I'm still learning about new buttons.
I've got two screens. I've got the meeting on this one, and then I have my notes on my other computer, thinking that was a better deal.
And home shopping on the other computer screen.
Yes, running Netflix on the third one. Yeah.
Julia, it was hard.
Can
Or
anybody hear me?
Julie, sorry. It's hard. It's low. Are you talking into a microphone?
Yeah, I am.
No,
I
not
can
you,
hear
Yeah,
you.
I'm on my.
Julie.
Julie.
What now?
Yeah,
That's
good.
better.
Kelly,
Yes.
this is Ron.
Welcome, Ron. Thanks for coming in, dialing in. Oh, great. RJ, did you find the invite from the city clerk, hopefully? You're muted, RJ.
So I am muted.
There you go.
No, I used your link, and that's why I came in as your name and then changed it over. So double
Okay.
check my email real quick.
I can change my name too, because I want to correct my spelling. How do I change my name?
Just right click over the image of yourself.
Right click over the image of myself.
Your little square, I mean. I'm not seeing it.
Let me see here.
Oh,
I think-
Rename.
Oh, it's
Rename.
the three
Perfect.
dots in the upper right corner.
I got it. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Look, another new skill, Mark.
God, I'm learning so much today. It was worth coming. There we are. Perfect. Yay for me.
All right. And I'm gonna. My phone is on because Angelique and Jeff had some challenges getting in last week, so I'm pay attention to there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That's everyone accounted for. All right. Welcome this morning. Adam is back, who has a fantastic visual behind him. Very nice. Very nice.
Yes. I'm envious of that. Gotta learn that too.
A little carrot
If you
next to your video thing. Change virtual background.
Yeah, that's cool. If you picked up a microphone, it kind of looks like you're ready to give a little concert.
I am not.
So welcome to Adam for joining us again, and thank him as well for setting up our Google group, and we played around with it. And thanks to Julia, who's trying to work with Adam to wrestle a shared calendar into submission. They're making some progress there. And okay, there's Jeff. Hold for a moment, please. Coordinate. We'll double check with Jeff to see if he's receiving that too. I'll make a note to myself to double check our email list with the city clerk or the tech folks that are sending these. All right.
Just letting you know, Jim is in vacation from
Good
yesterday.
for him. Good
Yeah.
for him.
So,
So happy that you're here, Jong Hoon. Always happy to have you.
thank you.
All right. I don't know of any nor see any public comment, folks. So we will move on to Shannon sent the minutes out. Excellent job on capturing that wandering communication or wandering meeting the last couple of weeks. And if you had all a chance to review those, are there any changes or any concerns or any questions about the minutes? She said, too much going on here.
Who just joined us with the ball cap? What's your name? Can't hear you. You're up as Kelly Williams.
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh, that's Jeff.
why does it say? That's weird.
Because you used my link.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
I-
All right.
I happen to know you can change your name.
So,
So yeah, you can change that.
The little dots, when you get around to it, the little dots up in the corner. This asks me, I know everything about this.
Yeah, Mark's like our resident tech guy now.
okay. Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you.
I'll move to approve the minutes if no one else has.
Motion to approve the minutes as submitted. Second.
I'll second.
Do a visual second.
All right, visual seconds. All in favor? I guess you have to be like I don't know what you do on the visual. Opposed? Minutes are accepted as submitted.
Thank you, Shannon, for those.
Yes, thank you. Our guests from last week, I wanted to give you a follow-up since they were both pondering submitting applications. Tina did submit her application, so that was wonderful. She has her nonprofit and community experience. I think would be really a valuable add. Takesha said she's thinking and praying on it, so great. I told them to let me know if they had any questions. So
I spoke with Tina. I saw her on Saturday at an event that we had uptown or at the music shop, and she was excited to be wanting to join. So we've been in communication. So
that's super. I'm going to send a note to the mayor. I mean, you know, it'd be great if we got to pick our own members, but it's mayoral appointment. I'm going to send him a note, and I'm going to send Jim a note to and I'll include you on that, Jong Hoon, but follow up with the city or with the mayor and with the city clerk. I don't know who kind of collects those and, you know, puts them in front of the mayor. I'm sure you and Jim are going to have to work the bureaucracy of the city to help us move that forward. That would be great.
Do we have just 2 vacancies?
Yes, we have two vacancies.
Oh.
So still, if that one's appointed, we would still have 1 vacancy. So still keep your eyes and ears open. Watch my phone a little bit because Angelique, I had it on silent last time and she was trying to get a hold of me, and I committed that I would make sure and pay attention this time. All right, so on to our continuing conversation about our community arts group. Again, thanks to Adam and Julia for weighing in. And so I'll ask about just because it was top of mind on the community calendar, was that able to be part of the group?
Well, there's definitely a calendar that we can have associated with the group. What we're trying to figure out is the ownership of the calendar, because I just created one to test with, but then it's under my name. So we were like, oh, maybe we should see if we can use because when you make a Google group, you get a Google email address for that group. So we were trying to see if that is something that can create its own calendar rather than using like something that I made, because we don't want an individual to have ownership over it.
Yeah, and I just got your comment on that to try and figure out. We'll look into it to figure out how that is, but I haven't had a chance to dig any deeper. I don't know if you can connect it because the Google group isn't a person, and Google tries to at least make sure there's a person setting up any account whenever they're doing it. That's why they're not big on like businesses without doing their whole business suite. That said, that might be a way of doing it. So yeah, we need to just poke around a little bit to see. I think one of the questions is functionality, and having a calendar as an outcome of the group, I think is a really important thing. But it may be that if every member of the group, and bear in mind right now it's like 6 people, so it feels very manageable.
Right.
This gets up to having 100 members on it. If everyone can go on and access and edit that calendar, there's a lot of procedural things that would have to happen, right? You don't want anybody moving anybody else's stuff around, obviously, but also there's just the question of, is that a tentative thing? Is that a final thing? Who is that calendar for? So that may just be something that long-term we need to develop, or midterm, I should say, we need to develop what that actually looks like structurally. But yeah, let me figure out if the calendar can somehow route through the group. I haven't had much success yet, but it's,
Yeah.
so.
And if we had to have it connected to a person, I mean, our Jim is our city liaison, so it may, that might be the fallback. Having one person is always, there's a certain amount of danger in it though, as people leave and move on, and then you have to figure out what to do with it. And that's always the danger of having a single person.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and there multiple people can contribute to it. I mean, Google calendars can be shared, obviously, so you can have multiple editors on things to be able to do it that way. So we could set something up that has multiple editors, and I guess it's okay if it's individuals and not the group itself that's owning it. Again, part of it is about the functionality of it, right? Like, what are we trying to do with it? If the idea is that people that are part of this group, which again is any community arts organization, anybody that's thinking about this for planning purposes, wants to be able to outline when things are happening, it's helpful to have one thing that kind of sketches all that out and we can see it visually, right? That makes sense. Do people need to be able to actually manipulate that information, or can people simply type into a thread potential event dates for 2021, you go, great, and then there's somebody who says, all right, well, let me just put that into a calendar real fast, and then everyone can view it. Right. And it could simply be that having it owned by 1 or 2 people is fine, because it's just about them putting that in, getting that information updated, and having it be something that people are able to look at, but not necessarily add to. So it's an extra step of work for the moderators, but that may actually make it simpler and cleaner in the long run, if that makes sense. And moderators doesn't mean that, Julia, I just volunteered you for that. Moderator of whoever that may be.
I was making a note that that's a good point, that that's what I had in mind, was for the community itself to help schedule and not schedule over each other, or even combine or coordinate an event to build off each other. And yeah, so you'd have to be able to move things around if they got canceled and rescheduled. So that would be, self-service is always better from a long-term perspective if people commit to it, but a little more free for all then. I put a note about, I'll talk to Jim about if we needed someone to take the discussion threads and put them into a calendar. So that would be the next, the other option to do that. And once it got going, it shouldn't be a lot of work. You have to be on a regular cadence for that. Warren, Angelique, I want to make sure I don't have you on the absent list or follow-up list. All right, so that was good. I appreciate you guys working on that.
I was gonna add something, Kelly, for Angelique and Jeff. Please email me at the city's sramirez@cityblm.org, so I can make sure that the Excel sheet that I'm sending over to Phil and our information services has that correct. I'm wondering if something's just off, or I just want to confirm, what is your preferred contact? I know, Angelique, I've contacted you, but I want to make sure that I just cut and paste it and put it in an Excel sheet, okay?
Yeah, because I get every other email. It's just when it seems to be important, like a Zoom meeting link, I'm just not getting them for some reason. I didn't get this last one. I think I got the last one, but it didn't work.
It's part of an Excel sheet that I have all your information in. Jim has given it to me, so it may just need a couple updates on there. because I'm the one that's updating it now, but it was maintained by previous staff.
Okay.
So I'm thinking that the latest information is just not on there.
I'll send you my list too. I mean, I assume it looks like most of you are getting, like no one said that I didn't get anything that I sent. So I'll
Yeah,
send you
it's all I need is Jeff and Angelique's. to
Well, and
complete
RJ,
it.
you said you didn't get it. You didn't get the email either from the city clerk.
Okay, and RJ, yeah. Okay, just send me, guys, just send me an email and I'll double check.
And yesterday, Phil asked about RJ's contact information. Do you remember? Yeah, Phil emailed us to ask about RJ's. Yeah.
I just sent it.
Thanks for that. That's a good point, Shannon. All right. For those, so Angelique and Julia and Meryl and I and Adam, trying to play around a little bit with the Google group. Adam posted some cancellations, and that was just trying to see what would be out there. And I put out, because I get a lot of, everybody does, that is connected if you sign up for stuff. So like the Arts Alliance for Illinois or Arts for America, they put out conferences, virtual speakers, grant opportunities when federal money is allocated. And I asked Adam, like, is everybody getting these, or would these be a good thread to be like, you know, under these opportunities, here's what some state and federal arts organizations are doing out there, so that everybody has opportunity to look at those. Because distribution, Adam indicated, can be a little haphazard. If you don't like sign up for that email, who knows who's getting what. So that would be another angle. Another benefit is that we would be able to share the arts community these regular monthly updates or weekly updates from these other organizations, particularly when it comes to money, because they'll announce, like, we have this grant program, or the annual grant program is starting August 1st. And if you don't know that, that's unfortunate if you actually qualify for some of these. So for open feedback, since we talked 2 weeks ago, what do people think about this idea of inviting the organizations in, having a Google group, and having the commission own it and moderate it, or at least co-own and co-moderate it? Meryl?
So kind of going back, because that was a lot of tasks.
Yeah.
So the first task of inviting the organizations, I think we should continue a tiered approach where we should be, you know, kind of similar to what we just did. We invited those who would be moderating it, or ideally moderating it. And then the next subgroup would be, you know, larger organizations or small, whatever we choose as the next step. But we shouldn't just go and send it out to the 450 people on our list from our event that we, you know, our roundtable that we had in the spring, fall, whenever that was. Fall? When was that?
This fall.
It was fall. You know, but a tiered approach so that they can get used to it, because our larger organizations probably have a few more events that they want to share about and might have information, and then kind of trickle that down, you know, how we want to do that. Or is our tiered approach a mix of large organizations and smaller organizations and individuals, and like, you know, group A has a little bit of both, group B has a little bit of both, group C. So just kind of figuring that out and keeping tabs on that. Just my 2 cents. As far as moderating it in our group, I feel like we already determined that we would be doing that.
So what other input around that? RJ?
So for me, to follow up on exactly what you just said, I think that almost like the person who should be in charge of the Google group, based on what we talked about, would be like the chair of this commission, and then all decisions made would be run through the commission itself. Imagine it would be something that worked. something like that, just to make sure. That way, when you move on, we have a new chair, that person just becomes the one who's in charge of running that particular and making all executive decisions.
Tell me more about what you mean about like decisions that would come back to the group.
I have no idea, but since we're making it, we have to govern it, right? And so like whether or not certain things get put on the calendar would be something I'd say. Changes to be made to it, what the parameters are to qualify to be on it. These things will come up in discussions and things like that. I just want to have it structured so that we have the ability to make the final decisions. Since we're
Yeah, certainly issues or conflicts could come back for discussion. The nature of the group needs to be organic. And Adam's done a really nice job. Really appreciate, he's actually put out some guidelines out there about, first of all, just being nice to each other, the basics. And then starting to format some, don't be stupid, the usual suspects there. But that would also grow too, or be formatted about what types of stuff to put on there and how we can connect with each other. And then inviting, you want people to use it. You weren't here at the last meeting and we talked about discussion. So it's discussion threads about like, hey, is anybody thinking anything for, I was thinking about this thing. Does anybody want to work on it with me? That kind of stuff. So the commission wouldn't weigh in. That would be a community discussion. And we want it to be more organic like that. And then I think that's great for someone on the commission to be a co-moderator. I don't know that we would make that the commission chair all the time, because speaking personally, it would make the chairmanship even harder to fill. Angelique?
I saw it in your face as soon as he said the chair. I saw it in your face.
Sure.
Like,
I knew it was coming too. I was like, I know, but somebody's got to have that. Somebody's got to be in charge of it. All right, you're right. We could appoint somebody.
I have a proposal, because I don't think any of us have the attention for it right now. However, I think if it's possible, we could get on it, maybe a schedule, and this maybe my week would be the first week of August, and then Melissa's would be the second week of August, Mara would be the third, and then that way the chair isn't the moderator, but they're just the ones checking in with us like every 3 days or so, like every Wednesday, every Sunday, something like that. You check in with us. You know what I'm saying? Is everything good? Or
and I think we could have a reviewer schedule, but I don't anticipate this getting like unwieldy. Maybe I'm just being optimistic, but I think if we need to adjust, we can. But I would be happy to volunteer to moderate for like a month at a time. Like between meetings, we could just pick someone to moderate and that person does it for a month. Or if we need to do it shorter, we can. But I don't anticipate it getting crazy.
Meryl?
And just as an aside, in addition to that, we need to have, our moderator just needs to know exactly what they're moderating. So we're going to have a task list or a set of, okay, just do this. But yeah, I don't see it becoming extremely unwieldy before we learn how to use it, for sure.
Yeah, and with all due respect to Angelique's democratic suggestion, I think maybe certain people really like to do that and are good at it and are maybe more connected or maybe more, hip into the community, knowing what's happening. So, you don't want to put the burden, certainly not on the chair arbitrarily necessarily, other than like you say for final decisions. But it just seems that if somebody would kind of want to do it, like we've always done, and we all kind of take the task that we feel comfortable doing and we get it done. So that's my concern with putting me in the rotation for a month of moderation of something I don't know what I'm doing.
Well, you wouldn't have to be in the rotation if you didn't want to. I was just offering that because not all of us have a month at a time to do it. I can't do it. I know a lot of others do. There's no way. Our plates are full. So I don't want it to come down to like a lot of other tasks where it's completely silent when who wants to be a moderator? You know what I mean? So that way there's like a week or a 2-week period.
Maybe do
where,
2 weeks, a nice middle ground.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think it would be good if we could sort of just on our own periodically, regardless of we're moderating or whatever, to check in just to kind of get, keep our fingers on the pulse. Certainly me, it'd be good for me to see kind of what is the trending chatter in the arts community or something like that.
Because there's areas where we could help as a commission. There might be things that we want to amplify. We want to make sure the city council's aware, or both city councils. So this is a Bloomington normal thing, but there might be things that we can amplify to things, or issues that maybe even have a solve, or we have some ideas that maybe to connect people to maybe problem solvers. It definitely needs to be a community thing. The community solves, generally solves a problem. Who can help me? That kind of thing. And then where we come in is particularly around sort of like amplification of events or issues, or helping people make connections. Adam, I don't know if you want to kind of weigh in if I'm missing like a big element of this, of where the commission can play a role without being a governing body.
Yeah, no, I think that's an important distinction, right? And I think as you think about the workload for everybody, the reason why we're having this conversation is because there's just a direct connection to all of the artists and arts organizations that come through this commission. So that this is a great way of being able to make sure everyone knows this is a resource that they have available to them. Beyond that, it's about responding to conversations and taking part in that dialogue. So if you're I guess I would say if you're thinking about rotating moderation of who's going to speak on behalf of the Cultural Commission, that's up to y'all, however you want to do it, right? But it's more about how Angelique wants to respond to what somebody posted on a thread saying, hey, we're thinking about doing this event, and saying, oh, well, from BCAI's perspective, we'd love to be a part of it because of this. And actually, you know what, let me run this past some people on the Cultural Commission because there might be an opportunity here. Also, I'm working with Meryl on that commission who may have some really good ideas on how to do this, right? It's really just about pulling all those people together and giving a common space, much like the, intensely packed 2 hours or whatever it was, 3 hours we spent in the basement of the BCPA, right? There was that sense of, well, this is a great spirit. We're all just talking about what we do and how we could do it together. See you in 5 years, right? Like it's not just taking that spirit and saying, let's just continue that conversation throughout. So I don't know that it's a really active management process, even moderating the group, which again, Julia has already volunteered to do.
Yes.
Just as a reminder,
Yes,
already
I
offered
did.
the town of Norman side of things. Like that really means don't come on here and don't come onto that group and be a knucklehead, right? Don't post a bunch of stuff that's offensive. Don't post a bunch of things that is intentionally trying to be harmful, abusive, or against the standards of what we would have in any community, let alone that online one. That's really what the moderation is about. It's not about saying, oh, I see that you've posted this. I'm going to make sure you talk to this person, unless you just want to do that because intrinsically that's something that you value doing. But that's not what moderation of a group is. Moderation of a group is making sure nobody is using it for the wrong purposes, right? So anyways, that's, I guess, just kind of expounding upon all of that.
All right.
Yes,
So
that.
Jeff? That's that, Julia. Jeff?
So I do think that this could give us good talking points for our meetings. So as we are reading through these things and things come up, I think it could help give us agenda items because we will be hearing, even if it's indirectly, from the community about events, issues, that sort of thing. Adam, I do have a question for you since I don't use Google Groups. If we have someone who, like a Julia, who's kind of being a quote unquote moderator, which is doing exactly what you said to do, just to make sure that nobody's being, completely inappropriate for the forum. How much if we're running this, how much could we run into becoming IT people where somebody's like, I'm trying to get on the group or I'm having issues here? Or is that something that they just automatically go to Google and they take care of all of it? That's one concern I would have.
Sure. No, it's a good question. No, all we need to do is add people to the group. That's really about the extent of what the IT support level is. And again, that's not just in any one person. Again, so far, Julia and I are the two moderators on it, but obviously we will make sure we can add more support if we need it. For reference, there is one moderator of a peer group that I'm on, the Art House Convergence group, that has, I think it's like 4,000 members or something like that. There's one moderator for that. And he's a full-time programmer that is working nationally. So that's far and away not his only job. So it really doesn't have to be massive. The other thing is that people can communicate directly with the moderator if they see something that is inappropriate. Like I've already got my email address up in the community standard, just saying, if you see something, email me and let me know. Right, and we can take care of it. As far as IT support, I mean, yeah, if somebody emails us and says, I can't make it work on my phone, that's not really what it's supposed to be about, right? You do have to kind of find your way to it, right? You do have to sort of support it that way. The thing is, there's only so much that's really all that technical about it, right? I mean, you hit the post thread button, you type something in, you hit post. I mean, that's really the only actions you can take. You could share files with it, I suppose, if you really wanted to, but beyond that, there's only so much you can do. So how you do it is, once you figure out how to get on, that's all it takes. So I don't think there's a whole lot up front that would have to happen with that, but it is a good consideration.
Well, I assume there wasn't, but I just, I just know that some people that when it comes to tech stuff, there's a wide range of people who somebody could reach out to you and go, I'm trying to put on an event, but I'd like to put this information on here, but it doesn't give me a drop down for that. And somebody else could be completely clueless and not know what they're doing. So.
Yeah, and there's a bit of a learning curve, and we can put together something very quick that's just the most basic of instruction sheet for it. I mean, that won't take very long at all, of just here's how you post something in a thread, and we can just make that sort of the top post on the page saying, so how do I even do this, right? How do I Google group? And then just do a very quick instructional thing, and that's easy enough to pull together. But you're right, I mean, there's going to be people with varying levels of technical comfort, competency, understanding, experience, people who've never been on here before, people who use this kind of stuff all the time, and making it so that it's accessible for everybody is important, because obviously we want everyone to be part of the conversation. So
I just don't want us to get sucked into that kind of IT type stuff. But
oh sure, yeah, no, I don't think.
Yeah. So Jong Hoon, you had a question. You had a comment.
For a long time, this kind of setting is very like both sides of potential, I would say. It could be really successful. It could be very going into the wrong way. Mm-hmm. But before we launch anything, like Adam just mentioned, and also Adam did it before, if there was any problem, Adam kind of made a whole instruction how to use our work email to connect with Google. So what I think is, before we go forward anything, we should think about how we are going to put the instruction when people are first joining, and they have to read through the regulation, instruction, and everything like that has to be decided before we do anything about this. So like, who said earlier there? Oh, Meryl said that. There should be different tiers. What is the how should I say, appropriate instruction for each tier? So what is the qualification? All those things has to be decided before we make any of this in public. That's what I think. If we do that, I believe it has great potential in a couple of years. I would say that, I mean, Facebook started it that way, right? So, yeah.
So that's good comments. I appreciate your feedback for that, Jong Hoon. Are there things you're thinking of that if we don't have like a lot of guidelines that could happen, or things that you're thinking about that kind of like give you apprehension, or just in general you're thinking?
Like earlier, we were talking about we need a moderator to unload the work of like moderator for any kind of events, there should be some kind of the guideline for what kind of event can be on here. You know, like those kind of things, the qualification of each the posts, that would be the best way. So like we cannot have somebody who's working 24/7 or, you know, full-time work to moderate. But if we make a good structure and instruction in the beginning, then we will have less work to do. That's what I'm saying, actually.
Yeah, I think that's a very good, very well said. I think we're, thanks to Adam, I think we actually are a little kind of at least somewhat percentage down that road with guidelines, and guidelines can be adjusted too, because you don't know what you don't know until something gets posted and you're like, oh, that's not what we anticipated. And then you have to adjust. Were there other question, comment?
Well, if I can just kind of dovetail off that, I mean, I guess I would respectfully say, you mentioned, you know, this could be something within a year or so that could be a really useful tool. I would argue that this could be really useful in 2 weeks. And I think that immediately upon people being involved with it, you could find a way of connecting with folks that you may not otherwise be connecting with. It will only be as good as the membership that's in it, right? And how active people are. If people aren't using the tool, you're right, it won't be an effective tool. I mean, it'll just be a hammer sitting on the shelf, you know? But if it's something that people are actively engaged with, I think the potential for this to be very quickly something that is useful is there. I mean, everybody's trying to figure out how to reopen or how to reposition themselves in our current landscape, and a place to be able to have some of that conversation. And again, not provide guidance from a government perspective, right? But have a conversation as an arts organization saying, we're conflicted about this. What are you guys doing? Or we're not sure exactly where to find everything consolidated. Where are you looking for your information? That kind of stuff actually is incredibly helpful and incredibly necessary right now. So people being able to just have that experience with each other, I think is what this is all about. And I think there's an immediacy for it that can be surprising. So as far as how we tier things and how we move forward, absolutely agree that parameters are important to understand what it is, but also leaving the space for this to be what it will become. Because as Kelly just said, we don't know what we don't know, and we don't know what people really need. And it may not be that they need another way of getting the same information. It may be that it's a whole different kind of thing, and we won't know until people start using it. And that's what's exciting.
I'm hearing general agreement that it's a useful community space, meets the needs that we heard from a lot of the organizations in November. We'd like to know, well, first to, I think Adam's point, like one of the top thing was like, we should do this again sometime, which is talk to each other and share what we're doing, and also creating community, and also, while it's not a single place for, you know, public calendaring, but certainly a great start about saying, hey, I'm thinking about doing a big thing on this weekend. Is there anything else anybody else knows about? Even stuff like that, you know, before I get my planning juices going. Anybody got anything else? What should I be thinking of? So that kind of organic conversation, I think there is was thinking about this last night, that we're at a point in time where that could be really, really useful. And we could offer this up as a place to start the conversation about this new normal, and then see where it goes from there. And then it may morph, to Adam's point, it may morph into what people really need in the community. And Meryl, I heard, you know, the tiering kind of thing. And Adam, you had said this too, like, you know, maybe you start with the performance venues that are, or people that put things, events and stuff together, and then maybe individual artists with retail outlets or something, like big chunks, but get it out, you know, kind of put it together and put it out there fairly quickly, but not a big free for all, like, here, there's this thing, come join. Maybe try to learn a little bit, but do it quickly. Feedback on that?
Yeah, I think a good starting point would be taking the list of our attendees from our fall event and seeing basing it on size, just size of the organization. It's very, objective. It's not subjective, like we like this artist better than that. No, it's very objective. We're going to do it based on size. We need to determine the size of the organization, what that means. Is it the amount of people that they employ, the amount of events that they have, or, how do we determine that? So that is a question of what determines size of the entity. And then, going from there, but starting with that list. And then we can ask those larger organizations who were on that list from the fall event, hey, what other organizations are the same as you that were not here? And then go from there. So, giving each group maybe like, a half a week or whatever to get on the board and get into the conversation. I did want to bring up one other thing. Sorry. Earlier, Kelly, you had mentioned about, what are we going to amplify? Do we use this to amplify? And I just want to point out that we have to be really careful with what we do and don't amplify. Now, if we see something that really, really needs attention, but how, I think part of that is really subjective. What we as a group feel is important might not be the same as what, the street art group, what are they? I forget the name of the commission, but what they want to amplify might be totally different. So we have to make sure that we're being really objective in whatever we choose to amplify, if we choose to amplify anything at all. But at this point, we don't really have to talk about that per se. I think just now it's getting everybody into the group.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to point that out.
I appreciate that. Yeah, you're exactly right. You'd have to tread carefully. And a random thought crossed my mind while you were talking about different groups and commissions was, public art guidelines and public art, that circles back about every 6 months and it comes up to the city and then nothing ever really happens. And, but if we had, 100 people into this group, that would be a great opportunity for some instant feedback. Like, hey, public arts come back around. Here's the proposal. What do people think? It would be a great place to get community feedback on things that were city connected from either city.
Can I ask a
Yeah.
question? Sorry.
The boxes move around though.
Yeah, I know. And forgive me if this is something that we talked about last time and I just don't remember. Since I don't use Google Groups on any kind of regular basis, is this a private only, like the only people that are part of the group can see and access what's going on? It is not for the public, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. So the next question I have is the calendar, because we talked about that they can post events so people can see what's going on, correct? Or is this only a forum?
So right now it's a forum. Really
Yes.
good question. And I had put the thought out there, like, could there be a calendar just for that community for like planning, like, oh, that Saturday's busy, or,
Yeah.
Angelique's planning a year ahead, like a working calendar that would not be open to the public. But then the discussion talked like, well, could you have a version that was available to the public once things were confirmed? And that would be awesome. That would not be in the initial set, that it needs to have some research around it.
Okay, because I remember us talking about calendar stuff and I was just thinking, I just don't know how well we're going to get organizations to put things on a calendar if it's not public facing, or
Right.
at least something where it could link to a public facing calendar. And that was the other thing. I didn't know, Adam, if I don't know if in Google Groups, is there a calendar option, and could it be something that could be subscribed to a public facing thing? So when they put something on here, it can also show up there.
Yeah, we were talking about that a little bit at the beginning of this meeting, actually, and trying to figure out how that calendar ownership works and how the parameters of what's being posted could happen. Can you set something that's within one calendar, within one workspace, I guess? Can you set an event that is both for public consumption and only for the group members to look at, right? Is there a way to set something that's just for group members because it's a planning item, and something that's a confirmed event that goes out for the public? We just need to, I think, dig a little deeper into that. I think the most important thing to think of now is if everything tries to launch at the same time, it won't launch. I think thinking about the forum and the place for discussion is probably the first place. I think a calendar is an outcome of the group, as there will be other outcomes as well, but that will be defined by people saying, hey, we wish we always had this. And it may be the most simple thing, right? It may be something that is the easiest thing to provide and nobody ever knew who to ask for it. And that's, again, part of the beauty of what this can be. To that point, I do just want to make sure I address a couple things. One is, if we worry about what's being amplified and not being amplified, that's really easy. Don't amplify something if you don't want to. This is a shared tool for everybody, all artists in the community. That includes the people that are part of this commission. I'm not part of this commission, right? I'm here just talking. So by definition, there's already different people having this conversation, and I may choose to amplify something saying, that's interesting, I want to comment on that in a way that's different than what people in this group may want to do, and whether you're commenting for this group or as an individual. So there's a lot of different layers of it. But remember, this isn't a cultural commission tool, right? This is something that everybody is engaging with. And if the members are part of the group, great, members of the commission. And if the commission chooses to post something on behalf of the commission, great. But those things are not mutually exclusive, right? So too, related to that, as we think about where we're starting from, and I hear this sort of, who are we seeding this in the beginning and how are we going to get people in? I do think it's important to sort of keep it maybe a little contained at first, but on the same hand, conversations get framed by who begins the conversation, right? And if we only bring in the biggest arts organizations in the community and say, you guys should post the things that you think are important to talk about, and then invite other artists in, they are immediately trying to now enter into that conversation and sort of say, I know you guys posted a lot, but here's my thread here. And I just think that's a really important structural thing to acknowledge. If you want to set up a place for people to be able to exchange ideas about arts in the community, I think the importance of one individual artist speaking can actually be as valuable, if not more so, than, forgive me for just pulling a random example, the BCPA posting and saying, here's our calendar of events, which you can also find on our website, right? So I think that's just important to acknowledge when it's starting out. So while I think, yes, we should probably be intentional, I also don't want to set the agenda. And one of the ways you set the agenda is through that invite list.
Jong-hoon?
That's a lot.
Good point. Very, very good point. But I'm thinking about like this as a little not little project. It's a huge project. And also I'm thinking about, in my perspective of how I process as an outcome in the arts management part, I normally think what would be the result from there. So what looks like we all agree that this will be awesome tool, but if we start with, it's not random, but if we start with just like the conversation and the threads, only that way, I believe it will have so many different directions. So what I'm suggesting is, what would be the final product? Let's think about that part. And then maybe, and when is the launch? And when is the due date for all that final product? And can we subtract to current, and we can make, let's say like a final product is there is a whole conversation with the different peers and also calendar. To make that, what do we have to do? And then to make that, what do we have to do? To make that, what do we have to do? So I think we need to have the timeline of each of those sections. Otherwise, it's gonna take a long time to make it. So I suggest that. I think we can move on to talk about what would be the final product of this group. And then let's start talk about how can we achieve that.
I agree. We definitely want an outcome, and we could certainly, part of that outcome is to meet the need of connection and community conversation that was a priority item from our November meeting from the artistic community. So a way for them to come together was a key request at that November meeting when we had about 30 or 40 of them. So this would be, our outcome would be, this is a way to connect the artistic community to each other as you indicated you wanted, and create conversations. So yeah, you're exactly right. That we would, to do that, we are going to try Google Groups. It needs guidelines and protocols. We're going to invite 10 organizations to start, then 30, then 40, then all the way up to 80. And we'll have a commission moderator. The good news is we actually kind of have like 60% of that done. Adam's kind of put guidelines out there, but we could certainly put together, and I'd be happy to work on this. Maybe Julia, you and I, since you've volunteered to be a moderator, can put together kind of a draft proposal. And I do agree with Adam that we're talking a matter of weeks, because there's this moment in time of arts organizations want support and information, and they could learn from each other as they try to track these new paths. It is important to have I call them the anchors, the anchor organizations, BCPA, the museum, the Arts Center. It's important to have them in the conversation, just as important to have the Glass Studio and Prairie Fire Theater and these elements as well, to meet our goal, to your point, Jonathan, to meet that result of, this is a place I can go to connect with my community, find out information, and to learn about opportunities. So we can definitely, put together kind of a recommendation and a timeline. And I think though it can be pretty quick, because it's really it's a discussion group is what it is. It just happens to be online and more useful and searchable, and it's a tech version of a discussion group.
So Kelly, how are we planning to seed this again with the email list from the conference?
That's where I would start.
And what's the problem with just putting out to all of those who have provided their email to us that they want to be in touch with the commission, as opposed, because I guess it's been suggested only the big groups. And as Adam was suggesting, they sort of start the conversation, and then it may become that the others won't feel comfortable, or I don't know, as engaged or welcome.
Right.
I'm just wondering, isn't it kind of like it's going to be organic and we throw it out there and see how it just fills in? I'm wondering.
I think part of and I share a little bit of anxiety or apprehension in that so many voices all at once. We don't know what we don't know. There may be moderation. How do we moderate it? How often is it being used? How can we help? I just think there might be so many voices all at once that it might be a little overwhelming initially, but maybe I'm wrong. I'm old and I'm not on social media groups, but
yeah, we're not Chicago. I mean, I think it'd be great if it was overwhelmed. I mean, if that many people were reading the forum, it would be.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point.
I don't know. I don't know either, but I'm not a big social media person either. So,
Jeff,
so two things. One, I do think the sooner we move on it, the better, especially because we're in a time, unfortunately, where everything is online right now because things are more shut down and things like that. So I think that there's more opportunity for people to use something like this, possibly now, or at least get into it right away, quicker. The second thing is, if we were wanting to start with a smaller group, can we just start with the people that actually showed up to the conference? Because it's a good mix of people. They were part of the conversation. It would be kind of a reward for them coming, and we could say, hey, this is our response to you. We're planning to open it up to the larger community, but we'd love to get your feedback first since you were there, and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
That's a great idea, Jeff. And I did keep track of who was invited and who showed up, and I still have that.
Yeah. I just don't want us to get I feel like we're veering into decision paralysis stage. I think everyone's made good comments, but similar to the group get together we had in the fall, we made the best decisions we could at the time with the information we had. We tried it out and we moved forward. And I think we have a lot of great ideas here. And I think we have to try some stuff before we can decide how to move forward. I think inviting Jeff, you're right. I think inviting that group that we all, sat down with in November is a great start. And hopefully in the next month we can go and make it bigger. But I don't think we don't know what we don't know unless we try it. And I think we have to be intentional and cautious and mindful and keep the discussion going. But we're all going to see each other again in 2 weeks, so we can do it again.
So I think because we're sort of pitching that we support this, I think it does merit a vote that we want to be. I don't know how to frame up the item to vote on, but basically to support and move it forward, that it's we would like to take this on as an official commission moderated, supported group. Somebody help me sort of format what we need to vote on there.
Yeah, because we talked about it as something, I think Adam mentioned, it's not a tool of the commission, like we're going to use it, for our use, which we will hopefully will use it. But so, yeah, what are we though? Because we are setting it up. So we're the sponsor. We want to be like having a backseat driver position. We don't want to be lording over this thing, but we also want credit for all this work of we did this in addition to the district, in addition to the conference. Now we have this. So we're sort of a sponsor, or what do you call it? A silent partner?
Sponsor. I think sponsor. I don't know, Adam, is that a good word? A sponsor of the group?
Yeah, a sponsor certainly works. Again, my hope, and forgive me if I haven't very clearly said this before, but my hope is that once this gets sent out and people are invited, that there isn't any kind of active sense of what the commission needs to do with it beyond what the commission chooses to do with it. I think this is mostly about if the support, we're trying to say the town is supporting this through the Department of Cultural Arts, right? We want to put this out, but we don't want to be just a tool of cultural arts. We know that we started it, right? It originated out of the department. Our hope is that we can jointly just get this out to the world and then let it breathe. And then we do the basic level support to make sure it hasn't turned into something else, for moderating it for propriety. But really, I'm going to be going on there because I want to be part of the conversations. It's not going to be like I have to go tick the box today of going on the forum. I have the, other forums that I'm on just open in the background all the time, so that if things ping and it's an interesting conversation, I can jump in and see how it's going. So, but I don't think meetings like this are going to be necessary. Unless you guys choose to do that beyond this point. It's really mostly about saying this is an idea we support. This is a one way of furthering the conversation that already began in November. So go have that conversation and we'll see you on there. So I don't know how to frame that into a votable. I don't know how to Robert's rules that. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think because we've got city, we are connected to the city. And so I just want to make sure that if anybody says you guys did something without anything, I thought, no, we didn't. We agreed to support. I use the word support, but I use it in a really loose way, meaning that we would help moderate it for basic moderation guidelines. And also learn what the community might need from us or how we can help. We would learn from the group is really the number one thing we would get.
An advocacy tool.
So a motion could be that the Bloomington Cultural Commission, or whatever we want to be called today, but the Cultural Commission will assist in moderation and advocacy of, and then this is where my language is not coming through, but a group or a Google group for artists and art organizations.
Well, it's the creation of, we're creating
and
it.
The creation of. So the Cultural Commission will support, assist in the creation, support, and advocacy.
Creation and development of a Bloomington Normal Community Arts online forum.
Yeah, it works.
Who did that?
I did. Julia.
Was that Julia?
Moderator.
Yeah.
Moderator.
Volunteer the moderator.
All hail the moderator. Yeah.
Well-
Say that again, Julia.
I said, so the motion would be to approve the commission supporting and creating the development of a Bloomington Normal Community Arts online forum.
Second.
Probably creating and supporting, but whatever.
Yes. Aye.
All of that.
I.
Bloomington. All right. So we will use, Shannon, were you able to capture that?
I wrote it down. Is there a chat in Zoom?
Okay, because that's a lot of words.
This one.
I'll just email it.
Yeah, Julia will email it.
I mean, it sounded beautiful.
It did sound beautiful.
And then I'm like,
that's-
wait, what?
They turned
Yeah.
off the chat function on these city
Yeah.
functions.
So Julia will email that to Shannon. Do we have a second on Julia's motion?
I'll second.
Can I just
Jeff
put
will second it.
I think we got a
All in-
second.
All in
Just
favor?
before we vote, I just want to throw something
Aye.
out fast.
Yeah, Adam?
Aye.
I just want to clarify again, that is worded as the Bloomington Culture Commission is going to create this tool. The tool has already been created
Oh,
and
that's true.
working in tandem. And I just want to make sure that this doesn't become
Okay,
something that is,
support.
again, the implication is that this is owned by or created by the
Yeah.
Culture Commission. I don't know how to frame that. You guys can wordsmith it later, but I just don't want it to appear on official city Bloomington meeting notes that this was
We
something.
can just say, have the commission support the development of it.
I think that's perfect.
That sounds good. Support development of a community Bloomington Arts School. Yeah, support and develop.
Yeah, I agree if that's what you said, but so we didn't, this was already created by someone else, another
Adam
entity?
created it
Yeah.
and we've been, yeah, it already exists.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
Are people using it?
Julie, yeah.
Yeah.
But not in the community. So we invited Julia and Angelique because Julia's moderating. Angelique actually has an arts organization. Meryl has an arts organization. So they were able to see it. Adam's posted a few things. So we will invite the rest of the commission this week and you can see the threads that Adam's put out there. I put out one on the other one. So it already exists. It's Adam's put out the guidelines and done a nice job on that, pulling from other groups and stuff.
We're just going to advance it and support it and publicize it.
But we are committing to moderating or co-moderating. So that's important that we've committed our resource to that and support, which that's what I think of as support. We're moderating it, we're paying attention. That's really what we're doing there. So, the commission will support and moderate this community arts group. But good call, Adam, that, yeah, we are not creating it because it's already done.
Yeah.
Creating a Google group takes like 2 minutes.
Right, but still the initiation, the idea was not ours.
No, it wasn't.
I got that lost. I guess I got mixed up.
No, it was, Adam pitched it right after the November meeting and February was our last meeting and then the world fell apart. And so it just didn't get forward. So
The people that attended the November meeting, what was that meeting called? Because you said we want to invite all the attendees of the November meeting. What's the name of that?
I just call it the November Arts meeting.
Conference, right? Arts conference.
Cultural conference.
Cultural Conference 2025 or something like that. Wasn't there a year attached?
Vision.
Might have been.
Vision 2025. Yeah, I don't know. Why am I commenting on any of this? I'm sorry.
Okay, can I just get one answer? What was it? November Arts?
It was.
Oh, okay, Vision.
It was Vision 2025 Cultural Arts Conversation is the name of the invite.
Yeah. I don't know what I'm going to do with that sign forever.
You had it.
All right.
Prove that you're going to use it. So there you go.
So we are over time, but so the motion will be to, the commission will assist with moderation and will support with, assist with moderation and support of this community arts Google group. Does that sound good to everyone? All right. Still a reasonable second?
Second.
Or Jeff still second. So all in favor of us moving forward with this. So aye.
Aye.
All right. So we have that official. I am going to connect. I'm happy to work on like a little bit of a proposal. So Julie, I'll connect with you a little bit around moderation and your view on that. And it's only two of us, so it doesn't have to be a meeting. And we'll go from there, and we will move on this as quickly as possible. And I'll also send out the list of everybody that attended so people can kind of get a look at that. We'll put that in the notes. Shannon, I'll send that to you. These are the people that attended in November, because it's nice to remember who all that was. We can do that as well. So,
very quickly, in addition to this supporting the community artists and the communication, which was a goal or a task put to us by the conference, it also, it strikes me when you talked about talking to the normal city council, so we could kind of come at some point or send a communication to the normal city council when we've curated the commentary from, if this blog forum kind of becomes it gets a lot of participation, it'd be a nice collection of support when we want to make a proposal to the Bloomington City Council or even to the normal City Council. I mean, because we come with the gravitas of being the Cultural Commission of Bloomington, just to let you know, a normal City Council, here's something about the arts community. So we are then a facilitator via this information that we're extracting. Again, not using it as a personal tool, but as a tool for the common good of both cities.
Yeah, Normal doesn't have a commission, but they kind of have Beth and Adam as a cultural department. It's just a little bit of a different setup, but
we could add our weight to they need to go to the council about something. If we have any weight, we can add it.
Well, I think I'm always all about more is better when it comes to art support. So, it's ridiculous. It would be ridiculous to have two separating things. It's the community needs everybody plugged into all the arts opportunities.
Yeah,
absolutely.
This is a good connector. The first since I've been on the commission that we've really had a sort of a true connection with the normal cultural arts activity.
So check that off your performance review, Adam. Collaboration across communities, right?
I'm glad this is being recorded. I'll just forward it right over. So.
Right. Note here, collaboration achieved. All right. I appreciate everyone. I know we're over time. Thank you very much. Our next meeting is in 2 weeks. It's a normal meeting or normal meeting timing. Virtual or in person, we'll see. If the weather's nice, maybe we meet outside. It's just hard to maybe hear each other, but we'll see. It's be nice to see everyone. So with that, meeting is adjourned and we'll do some follow-up. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks for letting me come over, everybody.
Thank you, Adam.
Thanks, Adam.
You're welcome. Thank you for coming.